Just a heads up, if you are looking to stock up on some G Fuel or simply try it for the first time, now is the best time to do so, as my discount code IMMORTAL has been boosted to get you 30% off your entire order through the 29th. I do seriously appreciate all you guys using my code when you check out, so thanks so much for that, and now on to the regular video. Well, Modern Warfare is finally here. It is officially launch day, as the game is now available worldwide on all platforms. And many of you are probably jumping on or getting ready to jump on and experience the game for the first time in its entirety. While we did have 2 separate beta weekends to experience earlier this year, the final version of MW that we have now does differ in quite a few ways, as it is definitely a much more polished and complete product. But more specifically, post-beta we were actually informed that with the launch of the game, we'd end up seeing a pretty significant day 1 update. And seeing as it is launch day now, that patch is now live, as are the patch notes to go along with it. So today we're breaking down all the major changes that came to MW with its first ever official update. Before we jump into that though, if you are new here, we are going to be covering all the latest news and intel regarding MW all throughout the year. So if you do want to stay up to date with all of that, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when a new video gets uploaded. And of course, if you enjoy this one, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And now let's get into the major day 1 changes that were just added in to Modern Warfare. So, first and foremost, as of right now, this is an update that should automatically be installed when you first download the game. So if you are just picking it up and installing it today, that should go live right away while you are downloading it. But if you had the game preloaded because you pre-ordered digitally, you should have gotten the update prior to today actually, so you shouldn't have to technically download anything new. But in case something happened where the update just didn't go live for your game for whatever reason, you might see that appear when you go to jump on. Regardless, this update encompasses a lot of changes, so let's jump into them, starting off with the general fixes that were implemented, first of which is in regards to the spawn system. Infinity Ward ended up fixing the edge case scenarios with spawning on enemies, which presumably means you should not be spawning right on top of people anymore, and they also adjusted the spawn logic to improve spawn quality, in addition to adding even more spawns to increase your overall options. Now, if you played the game during the beta, you probably remember just how unstable the spawns actually were, especially in Ground War. Ground War was complete and utter chaos with the spawns sometimes, so hopefully with this fix that won't be nearly as apparent anymore. Continuing on down the list, in Ground War specifically, they added more fallback spawns to FOBs if a flag has too many enemies on or around it. They improved safety checking for spawning on squad mates. They added spawning on squad mates while in vehicles. Neutral tanks and helos will now show up in the spawn selection screen, so you can just jump right to those if you so please. Helos now also have flares to help manage enemy missiles. They added the DEFCON nuke to the game, which is activated when all 5 flags are captured by one team for a certain period of time, and much like the regular nuke, the DEFCON nuke will end up ending the game, so it's kind of a mercy rule in a sense. And they also fixed the under the map glitch that was very common to find in the beta, so I'm pretty glad that that is fixed as well. Infinity Ward also ended up adjusting the brightness in darker areas across various maps, so now it should be a lot easier to spot enemies trying to hide in said dark areas, and that was definitely a very big concern post-beta, so it's nice to see that fixed too. For the low health visuals, it'll now brighten up in the middle of the screen instead of darkening. For weapon balance, they didn't specifically say what exactly changed with each individual weapon, but instead they ended up saying that a lot of weapons received some love since the beta, but most notably the shotguns and the pistols should be a bit more lethal and effective now in the full game. In the equipment category, claymores now have larger and also more visible lasers, and in a particularly odd twist, they implemented the mechanic of claymores exploding if you revive a teammate next to one. So just bear that in mind if you are playing a mode where reviving is enabled. With the minimap in specific, this was obviously a very hot topic in the beta, and it is now on by default across core multiplayer and also Ground War. However, enemy fire does not show up on the minimap unless a team UAV is active. And they also zoomed the minimap out a bit so you can see a larger radius with it now, which is another much needed improvement. For kill streaks, they adjusted the VTOL jet so it will no longer target players through the rooftops, which, little side note here, Thank goodness that was fixed. I don't know about you guys, but throughout my time on the beta, especially during the second weekend with Ground War, I could not count how many times I was inside of one of the main buildings on Karst River Quarry, only to have the VTOL jet shoot me and end my streak through like 3 solid floors. So on a personal level, I am so glad that is now fixed. On the Juggernaut, they fixed the suit not spawning when you would actually go to open the crate, and they also deployed a fix to prevent the mask from staying on a player after you die while using the streak itself. Then they also adjusted the cruise missile so that players will no longer be stuck in a leaning animation after using the streak. Moving on, we've also got a handful of more specific fixes and adjustments as well, led by a fix being implemented to combat screen tearing on character and weapon models, specifically on Xbox. IW also ended up adjusting the impact damage of lethal and tacticals alongside the ammo box explosions, as they were causing quite a few instant kills. So you might not feel like some explosives are as powerful here in the full version of the game. Various descriptions in the gunsmith feature ended up being adjusted in the Day 1 patch 2. They deployed a fix for a bug where the wrong input would be shown for players in a party. That could definitely cause some confusion for sure. They fixed a bug where a door could open in the opposite direction of a player's movement. They adjusted footstep audio to make it a bit more accurate. They fixed an issue with deployable cover blocking paths when put on stairs. They made various audio adjustments for executions and weapons. And lastly, they fixed players being able to spam the crouch button to create a snaking effect in a sense. So those were all the major changes that were deployed all across the board unless otherwise specified. But Infinity Ward also ended up making some PC-specific changes too. Crouch and prone animations have been smoothed out for high FPS. ADS sensitivity options can now be saved when using keyboard and mouse. Double tapping the sticks now always triggers the super sprint when using a controller on PC. Personally, I'm glad that's fixed. I ran into that a lot during the beta. They fixed blurriness in various situations. The ping widget is now showing the correct latency value. They added a depth of field option in the graphics settings. They added HDR support for those with compatible monitors or TVs. They added NVIDIA highlight support specifically in multiplayer. Global performance improvements and stability fixes were implemented. ADS transition animations have been smoothed out for high FPS. They adjusted the stand to prone timing for keyboard and mouse versus controller. Players no longer lose the sprint functionality by holding down the sprint keybind and also the move keybind while respawning. And then finally, for today's fixes and updates, the FOV slider settings reverting when loading into a match have also now been fixed. Alright, so this is now Zach from the future, a little post edit here. While editing this video together, Infinity Ward also announced that the night maps will actually be removed from the game completely for the time being, and they'll be added back into their own individual playlist at a later time. And also, the minimap was apparently appearing in some hardcore modes, so that has been fixed now too. So yeah, as you guys can clearly tell from that very lengthy list, all around, the game got an absolute ton of updates, fixes, and changes with the Day 1 patch. So while we did get to experience quite a bit of the game with the multiplayer betas, some things in specific will definitely feel very different. Also, one thing in particular that was not mentioned in the patch notes, but still ended up changing nonetheless, is that of level unlocks. As in the beta, you could unlock the AK-47, for instance, pretty early on. If I remember correctly, it was actually one of the first ARs we got access to, and now the AK-47 is actually the last assault rifle that you end up unlocking, and various adjustments of that nature were made to all the other weapon categories as well. So just be wary of that. Your favorite weapon from the beta might be unlocked at a different level now here in the full game. Admittedly, that is mainly a heads up for you snipers out there, just because the AX-50 is now a later unlock and not the main sniper that you first gain access to, so you might have to do some grinding to get your most ideal weapon unlocked. Anyways, with all of that being said, those are all the major changes that came with the Day 1 update here in MW. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know. Drop a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you are new here and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, ranging from news to leaks to updates and pretty much everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. As I mentioned earlier on in the intro, from now until the 29th, my G Fuel code IMMORTAL will get you 30% off your entire order, so if you do want to pick up a new tub, shaker cup, or simply a starter pack, now is definitely the best time to do so. Once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the battlefield. Peace out.